Of course, political parties are able to spend a lot of money, easier for the bigger parties, but not so easy for the smaller ones.
And that's what's interesting about this election, the number of small parties that are coming on for the first time and how they're approaching the election campaign and their advertising. So while we've seen the DA, the ANC, the EFF having big billboards and TV campaigns, the other parties are sticking to traditional forms of campaigning with posters and with some T-shirts. I spoke to the African Independent Congress. Remember, they're a small party. They have 3 seats in the National Assembly, but they spent 250,000 rand on about 8,000 posters. Just puts into perspective how much a poster actually costs. But the treasurer of the AIC says that they believe this was a worthy investment, although they had to raise the funds with some difficulty because they don't attract the traditional donors that the big parties would. Let's have a look at what the treasurer said.
We don't have billboards. We cannot afford billboards because we are dependent on our IEC grant. We are dependent on the 10% that our councillors pay every month, and we depend on councillors assisting now and MPs and MPLs assisting now so that we can put up the posters, pay for the services of the people that put them up, who is our own volunteers.
So let's break it down so we actually know what it costs, right? So you said they spent 250,000 on around 8,000 posters. That works out to 31 Rand and 25 cents per a poster. So it seems like a little, but when you want to go on a grand scale and get 8,000 posters, it comes to that much. Let's talk about the cost these posters and billboards actually, what they mean for the bigger political parties, because those figures are quite high.
Yeah, so you spoke about the 30 Rand average for the poster. It goes down to 20 Rand. When you consider that some of these parties actually have the old chipwood and hardwood boards, so they scrape them clean from the 2016 elections, and then they just print the new posters over there to try and save costs. But most of these are printed in KwaZulu-Natal. Apparently that's where the cheapest factories are. With billboards, though, you're talking about 100,000 Rand for the cheapest billboard in the most remote location. So if you consider that the EFF has more than 5 billboards, the ANC, usually we'd see the Luthuli House draped in ANC colors with the president's face on it. This year, that advertising is not there, and they've had a big mess up in Port Elizabeth where they had to replace a billboard, so no doubt incurring heavy costs. And it seems to fluctuate between those amounts.
Yeah. So let's, of course, tell us more about the DA and what they're saying their billboards are costing them, because it's interesting to see how the DA is playing its advertising campaign compared to the ANC, for example.
Yeah, the DA has 6 television adverts. The latest one is a spoof on Childish Gambino's This Is America music video. But they said that they're investing heavily in that because they're trying to innovate, they've said. So the DA claims that it was the first to introduce billboards, the first to introduce TV adverts. And this time, when it comes to the posters, they're saying that they are producing the most high-quality posters in the country. I spoke to the spokesperson of the DA, Mabine Siyabe, and he was talking about the rains in Johannesburg that have made the other posters kind of fade away, boasting that the DA's one still retains a lot of color. Let's have a look at what he said.
It's a worthy investment because you hear people talking about them, people post them on social media, so the reach of those posters gets far and wide. And we're proud to say that we were the first party to put up our posters on the 3rd of January, about a month, 2 months before any political party. And also we ensure that we put up a quality product which speaks to the kind of government that we want to give people.
I guess we're all trying to work out just how they actually managed to fund this, the billboard campaigns, and then their general campaigning, going door to door, flying the president here, flying the deputy president here, etc.
Yeah, I think the DA claims that they're spending more because the people that are campaigning in the DA don't necessarily have the VIP protection, which is guaranteed in the state-sponsored cars, unlike the ANC when they go to different parts of the country. But it's interesting to note that even with the allocation from Parliament to these different political parties, it still doesn't cover the costs of the election campaign. And this is where donor funding becomes so important. And the fact that there's no transparency around that is really placing the voters at a disadvantage.
I wonder, Govan, if political parties could ask their donors for the 30 and 50 million that they accumulate and build schools. Wouldn't that help, right? That would be something else. All right, thanks so much for that. Appreciate it. Govan Mitchell's our reporter, filling us in on the cost of political advertising.